right, let's try that again. Not sure what happened, but we were having some troubles with the stream before we ever got on the air with one area of it. So it was just good to reset everything. Anyway, happy Monday, a typical Monday kind of thing to do. But we are glad to be here. I'm Cornbread Man, Dave in the AM, whichever you like. It is now 6:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this 22nd day of June. Hope you had a great Father's Day. Shout out to all fathers out there. And I know it was difficult for those who did not have, um, someone there that they wished were, and that was very difficult. Um, it can be a depressing kind of day if your father was not with you, but in great memory, you think of the great and fun times. But anyway, happy Monday. Lots going on. Let's get our verse in. We always need our verse really quickly, as with all things. We need the Word of God early and often. So here you can say that you at least got started. Here we go in Psalms 125 and 3. For the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands into unto iniquity. Psalms 125 and 3. There's your Bible verse of the day. And beautiful flowers there. I love that. Beautiful scene. I love those Bible programs that have the beautiful, or you can buy them. They have the scenes, landscapes, animals, whatever. It just, I don't know, it just does something. Gives you a visual. We're very visual oriented people anyway. People learn visually and hearing, seeing, doing. So visual is a very big part of that. For those that can't see physically, that's hard. They can't they can't paint the picture because they don't know what it looks like. They can feel it though. To them, what it may look like. But colors will be hard. How do you describe a color to someone who's never seen a color? And so it'd be hard. But a lot of people they're blind spiritually. They have no concept of what you're even talking about. Move this mic a little closer. Me and Biscuit Bull were doing shows Saturday, and I left it over there. Got new equipment on the way, by the way. Should be coming in this week as we update the studio. We're still in the process of changing things around here. So you may need to see some new things. You're going to see some new things. We thank the Lord for it. Pray for all the crew this morning. We always want to keep them in prayer. Great friends. And we'll keep our country in prayer. In the news, this the deal between the United States and the memorandum of understanding that's still being negotiated. This thing is on as thin of ice as ever been a deal or an agreement. It the Iranians have not agreed to anything. I don't care what anybody says. They have thrown an understanding that they want you to think that they have an understanding. They are using leverage of this to the hill, and it's come down to a couple of big things. And really, the United States is either going to end up in a bigger, broader war if we're not careful, because we should have known what we're doing when we're dealing with these people. They're not your typical Middle East terror group. They're very much different. Not that the others are not violent. Not that they're not a Boy Scout group. They're mean and ugly and they do bad things. Good morning, Brother Cook. How are you, man? Yes, thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, for this day. That's a great way to start the day. I mean, how could you not start a day with a smile on your face, with a greeting like that? God bless you, brother. Love you. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, for this day. Hallelujah. Cook, you get applause for that. You know what? Because it's a great day when you get a greeting like that. Love you, brother. But anyway, they have tried to uh, strong arm what's going on in Lebanon. Listen, the deal. Whatever you feel about Lebanon and Israel, they don't need to be making this. Not. I'm gonna tell them we'll deal with that situation separately. This is our memorandum of understanding. It's not even going to be on the sheet. Okay. I don't know why we even allowed that anyway. If that was an opera, just say strike. Put a line through that, initial it or whatever, and say this is not a bargaining chip you have. The bargaining chip you have is that you're going to not have a nuclear weapon. Number one, ever. That's not going to happen. Number two is The Strait of Hormuz is going to be open with no fees, no trouble, no nothing. That's it. There's no other. We're not going to put anything in here about the release of frozen assets because you know what? You got to show you can be a member state in good standing with the world, not just with those terror groups that you want to have, keep funneling money to. No, I mean that's my feeling on it because they have been a bad neighbor to many and they're dangerous. And I would say this first of all, show that you can be a good member state. Show that you're not going to, be hanging and beheading and torturing people in the streets just for, trying to live. Then we'll talk about frozen funds and stuff. We're not going to release a dime. I don't care. You got to all sell it. Once you're done here, you're not going to sell that until we open this up. I mean, you got to play hardball with them. If you start and President has pushed the line on this many times, and I get it. You don't want to go to a deeper war. I get it, but that's now you're stuck, and so you're going to have to do something, and so you just choke them off financially, and that will have an effect. It will have an effect, and you just knock down the drones and the stuff and whatever, and that'll continue to go on. I get it. Midterms are coming, and they want a deal, and there's energy, and Europeans are getting nervous, and everybody's getting nervous about it. But listen, they're already making deals away from this, and a lot of those countries are already making deals. They realize no matter what agreement is going forward, we don't need to be stuck in this, and I agree. And so, what they need to do is just marginalize Iran, and you know what? Keep your oil. You can sell to Russia, China. That they'll always buy from you, but the other nations, we're going to keep the strait open, and we don't want your oil. Well, because they're developing other areas to get that. The United States is going to be a recipient of some of that, but other nations as well, and that's how you do it. But it is tedious, I mean, they're walking out. They want to take a picture of the vice president. I mean, it's grandstanding. If anybody understands negotiations, understands it's grandstanding, and it doesn't really matter what side you are on this. Maybe we are too, but it's grandstanding, and it's big. I mean, we're talking about a nuclear weapon. These people, you just tell them it's not going to happen ever, and the nations of the world need to stand up. The majority of them that will, and say we all stand together. You're not having one because you can't handle it. You're crazy. You will drop it on anybody. And so it's not just about us. The nations and their Arab neighbors should not want them to have one, and I don't believe that they do. So it is going on. The talks have ended. The technical negotiations will continue. Um, so I don't think that I don't think it's going anywhere. I think the memorandum of understanding the understanding is this: we ain't got jack because they're not they've not agreed to anything because they said everything is on Lebanon and Israel and different things with the Hormuz and they want to charge fees. There is no understanding. This thing was rushed through. They rushed it out to the presses and said we've got a deal, we got a deal. And the Iranians said no, you don't. We don't have a deal. And so we monkeyed that up. We really did. And I was fine with the continued pressure on them. And he was, and people are saying we're giving them money. Well, it's frozen assets. I don't care if they get them or not. I really don't, because they have used the assets to then use in terror, and so I don't care if they get them or not. But if you're going to have an agreement, you have to have the agreement: no nuclear weapon, and the strait will be open with no fees. You don't have a right to do that, and you're not going to do that. And so that's where it's at. And I think that's everybody agrees that they're not going to do that. I mean, they're going to charge up to $2 million a shipload. Now, there's a lot of issues going on out there. There's a lot of other issues that are going on out there. Many of the crews on these ships have said, when we dock, we're done. We quit. We don't have an employee no more because they've been stuck. They've run out of, I'm sure conditions on many of these that have been stuck that didn't get through, they're horrible. They've run out of supplies. I'm sure the sanitary conditions are not good. The ships themselves may even be damaged to some degree. It's not good on them just to sit like that. But the crews on many of them have said, we're not going to do this anymore. So whenever they dock, wherever they dock, they're done. They maybe not every single ship has that, but many of them. This report's coming out. They said we're done. And you imagine you're employed. I mean, you're an employee. You're caught up in a political game that is impacted your whole life. And so you're not moving, you're not making money, you're not whatever. And who wants to be stuck like that? It's a hard life anyway, really, honestly, traversing the ocean. You know, those guys. I mean, it's a hard life, but they're done. I mean, look at they've been out there for weeks, and they would have weeks in front of them before they ever got anywhere. And so, a lot of that ability of them to even they're gonna have to hire new crews, new training, maybe even have to pull these ships in and get some cleaning done on them. I mean, it's not good. Things will attach to the hulls, and all kinds of things will happen. They're going to have it's costly. It's going to get costlier. So there's that, and there's other things that are maybe ready to blow up in the region too, in the general region. We talk about Ukraine and Russia. Things are escalating very quickly. This is not getting it's not getting the press really that it probably should. Moscow is under attack daily now. 4 days in a row, Moscow has been lit up. Energy. I mean, we've seen the videos. Fires all over. Energy sources being hit. The former president of Russia, Medved, he always talks smack, but he is now talking about removing even the so-called rules of war. He wants to go to another level, and he's talking about the intentional harming of civilians to a level they've not seen yet, and even made hints that other nation states in Europe may get bombed. I mean, this thing is even way bigger than the Iran U.S. deal going on here. It is way bigger. The Ukrainians have broke free into Russia. I mean, they're drones. I don't know why it has all of a sudden, if they've just destroyed so much of their ability to detect these things, or the technology's better. I don't know, but a lot of these drones are hitting their targets, and Moscow is bleeding on the battlefield as well. The Ukrainians have made a huge punch. They're also hitting Crimea. They're knocked out almost all the ability of people to travel to and from there. They've had to shut down oil cells there, gasoline cells, and stuff like that because it's not safe. And so the people of Crimea are almost on an island by themselves with nobody to way to get to them but by ship. And the ships are not safe because the Ukrainians are lighting up those shipping lanes. So this thing is taking a turn that the world is not talking about. And Russia is not happy. I mean, how could you? It'd be like you imagine, Washington, D.C. or New York, either one, way you want to look at it, being, drones hitting almost at free will days in a row. Things are blowing up, smoke clouds, fires burning. You can imagine what we would be thinking if that had occurred. They also said that basically he did, Medved, if you can go after leaders, we can too. Talking about how we went after the leader of Venezuela and also leaders in Iran. And so not that he's Putin, but he is calling for it. He is calling for the taking out of leaders in Europe. Now that's a big deal. And, again, he talks a lot. He runs his mouth. But, what if that all of a sudden started happening? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if all of a sudden a leader was taken out in one of the European countries? Can you imagine the escalation that would occur across the world? What if it was an American leader of some kind, not the president, but what if it was a high general or something like that was taken out? What if there was violence here in America that took out someone in the administration, high level? Where we would be sitting within just a few hours after that happened. And so that's really, I think, more of a danger right now than what's going on with Iran. Although it needs to be cleaned up, we're really not hurting. People have adjusted. We have enough ability to put oil in the country with other means that the oil is not going to go that high for us. And I think people are whole hum about it. Obviously, it's not affecting their general life to that much degree. People are finding other ways to ship their products overseas and around the world. These companies will adapt. They're not just going to sit on their product. So the strait is becoming less important to a lot of people. Not that shouldn't be battled over and defended and all that, because that's the right of the world to use it. But countries and companies are finding other ways to get their product, and they're developing more now. And they're going to neutralize any importance that the strait has for most people. And that's what you do. You adapt in times of struggle, even war or whatever. You adapt, you find other ways, and they will find multiple ways instead of one. I mean, probably were really was not. You never want to put all your eggs in one basket, as we say, and they probably never should have just relied on that almost entirely to get their products across the world, which a lot of the world uses, being Shein, Temu, different ones, TikTok stuff, whatever it is, it's all coming from that region. A lot of it. They've already found other ways. They're finding other ways. That's why Iran was trying to go further out and get things in the Red Sea, and because they know this too. They see it. They know what's happening. It's like, wait a minute, we don't have, we're not the power we think we are now. They found other ways. We can't leverage with that, and that's what's happening. So, and it will continue to happen as the longer this goes on. So nobody enjoys it. It's not good, but people better get focused on what's going on between. I mean, this happened really within days that Ukraine, for whatever reason, was able. Remember, they got through every once in a while. Like there was that one big attack. They hit some apartment buildings and stuff, and there was a few people got hurt. Maybe a handful got killed. It was intense. Russia bombed really heavily. There's been some hit around the country, but nothing in Moscow like this. I mean, they're hitting in the heart of the country. They're flying all over the deep within Russia, and obviously they're getting intel and surveil and satellite guidance from others, and we could basically surmise who that probably is. That's why we better be concerned. Uh, they're getting great intel. I mean, like there's been a switch flipped here somehow, and they're now. I mean, think about it. Russia's looking up in the sky more than they ever have. Like, oh my gosh, Mr. President, there's been hits now in the suburbs of Moscow. Can you hear? We hear the explosions from the balcony. The Ukrainians have hit again, and they'll end up hitting bigger. But again, they're losing on the battlefield. So what the President Medved was talking about, paraphrasing all this, be glad to pull it up during the news hour, is he was talking about from the air and dropping things on people. So they're talking about missile strikes. He was potentially across Europe, uh, and targeting leaders. I mean, they're mad. I mean, they're mad. It's so this is a very something we very better look at. So anyway, it's not even mentioned in any of the news. You look up the site, you don't really see it. Like I said, it's getting very little press, but it is definitely intensified over there with what is going on. The president blasted the New York Times on Iran as unethical and cowards. Um, a poll: Americans want Iran war over with. I'm sure they do, but I don't see. Most Americans are like, okay, well, do what you got to do. I mean, people I work around, nobody I work with, or nobody's calling me up and going, "Can you believe we're in day whatever with this?" No, that's not happening at all. You can polls. I don't even like them anyway. I'm sure if you polled anybody, they would say, "Well, sure, I wish it was over." And so they take something like that and they make a poll and they say Americans want it over. Well, of course we want it over for the men and women of our armed forces. We don't want them in things like that, but we also want our men and women in bases around the region to be protected. And we want a free course of trade. We don't want Iran having a nuclear bomb. I think most Americans would agree with that. There's going to have some. They're always going to say they. I mean, there's Americans that want. Sadly, there's Americans that want us to lose. They want America to go down. They're nuts. But they see as Iran is in the right here, or whatever. You're going to have people like that. Most Americans, they're like, hold on, do what you got to do. We'll be glad when it's over. Life goes on. Um, Robert Pape says that Iran talks are battle for Gulf power. Of course they are. I mean, that's absolutely what we're talking about here. Um, the article goes on to say, this article by Michael Katz, that Vice President J.D. Vance's talks with Iranian officials in Switzerland reflect a new phase in the Iran conflict, one centered on negotiations over regional power rather than simply ending hostilities. University of Chicago political science professor Robert Pate said Sunday, what we're really seeing is that the battlefield, this is from Newsmax, and that's where he was on their show. What we're really seeing is the battlefield has shifted to negotiations. He told host Joe Pinion on Sunday Agenda, the discussions now underway are not just about ending a war in that narrow sense. They're about the future balance of power in the region. Of course, it's always about that. The Iranians understand this. If they look weak here, others will step up to claim their self-anointed title as the bully of the Middle East. He said that key disputes delaying progress involve issues that could determine whether Iran or the U.S. emerges as the dominant force in the Persian Gulf. You know, they got really mad at the president. Some things he said. One of the things he said was, "We will charge the fees in the strait." Well, that ticked him off. I mean, well, that's ours. What do you mean? He has also told them that we'll have a deal, or you'll be leveled. I mean, he pretty much told them, if you don't do this, you know, parking lot. I mean, basically. Again, he says things too. It's kind of like Medved. He says things and backs off. But sometimes they don't know how to read Americans, and they think, well, what if? They play the game, but they don't want that. I mean, they realize there's a point they can't go across either. But they're playing politics, or they know the president's under pressure at home. They don't have that pressure. They're dictators. They don't care. They know that he does have to deal with it, and it's political pressure. Speaking of political pressure, it is said today or tomorrow that the British Prime Minister may be stepping down, resigning. He's under a lot of it. He should be. He's horrible. But anyway, that's another bit in the news. His quote here in this article is, Iran going to be in control of the Strait of Hormuz and impose tolls. This has been an issue going on for months. The Strait of Hormuz, we know how significant it is. But he said at recent comments from President Trump rejecting the idea that Iran could collect tolls in the strategic passage. Just this morning, President Trump was saying if there's any tolls that are going to happen after day 60, America will be charging tolls, not Iran. That ticked him off. Well, you can see right away that's a big issue. Second major sticking point is Iran's insistence on retaining enriched uranium. Just in the last couple of days, the president of Iran has said that Iran will continue to have this enriched uranium, adding that Trump has publicly pushed back on that position. Those disputes have remained unchanged despite ongoing diplomacy. Either Iran controls Hormuz or it does not. And either Iran is going to surrender, get out of the country that enriched uranium, or it does not. He said advances discussion in Switzerland are focused on those same questions. The bottom line on these two issues, which essentially have been issues for months, he said they will be the issues for 2 months. Ultimately, the negotiations are about more than a ceasefire. These negotiations are about the balance of power. Who's really going to be the dominant power in the Persian Gulf? Is it going to be Iran or is it going to be the United States? That's what the issue is here. Because these questions remain unsolved, he cautions against viewing the current moment as the conflict's conclusion, and I didn't think that it was either. I mean, I don't see how you could ever see that it was a conclusion. We're going to see a gigantic amount of uncertainty for a long time. My analogy here for where we're at is it is a bit like halftime at a football game. The first half has played itself out. You can look at the scoreboard, but what you're really seeing is the game is not over yet, and so it's too soon to go to the post-game party. Well put, Mr. Pat. I've read his stuff before. I like his analogies. I think he sees the clearer picture. He doesn't get caught up in the moment. I said before they ever announced the memorandum of understanding, I didn't think they would get there, and if they did, I didn't think it'd be worth the paper it was written on, to be honest. I just didn't think that it would. Jerry Barrett, God bless you, brother. Hope you had a great Father's Day service. Most of the people who are complaining do not even realize that we have military bases along with American personnel in the area that the strikes are designed to help protect. They're going to keep on, and they're going to really make President Trump mad. He's going to drop a bigger bomb than anybody has imagined. And when that happens, get ready, because it's going to be chaos worldwide. Anger then will be against the mean or ugly United States, people who don't understand what is actually, I'm sure this next word. And you're absolutely right. And I think that's, we would hope that wouldn't happen, but I think that's what happens. I think that we're moving towards that. Listen, brother, me and you, certainly, many, many others who know these rocky days of the future, as we look into, what the Bible gives us, not in a step by step, but we know the future is rocky. We know that there's a lot of bad things going to happen along the way, and the Middle East is going to be in turmoil. Any peace will be a temporary peace, right, brother? And then it'll be that chaos you speak of on a scale this earth has never seen. These are all stepping stones, puzzle pieces, however you want to put it, that get us to that. Excuse me. You always knew that Iran was going to be a part of that, confederation of nations. Russia will be involved in that as well. They'll come at Israel, and Israel is going to be attacked. And what are we seeing right now? It's right on time, right? Hatred for Israel on a scale we've never seen before. Hatred, pure hatred. I mean, it is at a scale. You can hate, you can dislike governments, but I mean, there's a hatred. It's a hatred for all Jews, and it's horrible. I mean, I'm not everybody do it, but I know there's people out there. You see these things all the time, and so that's why it's tied in, because Israel's always going to be a part of anything that's going on. It's because they're the center point of all the future events until Christ comes back and puts it all down. That's going to be the center point. I always called it the radar center of the world. If you want to get more specific, it's Jerusalem. You want to get more specific than that, it is the side of the temple, the future temple that will be there. So, the temporary one, but there'll be that's the center point. That everything's going to emanate from there. It's a ripple effect that goes across the world, and it's going to pull everybody in. Every nation will be affected upon the whole earth, and I hope that preachers are sharing this. A lot of times preachers have gotten away from preaching prophecy. Get out there, tell people to pay attention to what's going on. We may not know exact timing, but we sure can read the news. We sure can read the Bible. We sure can see the type of things that will be going on at that time. And it's heating up big time. And I've seen a lot of people doing that, and I'm thankful for it. It's time to get right with God. I mean, if you haven't, because every day is a gift to you anyway, your life. But things are heating up. They're heating up in a major, major way. But you're right, brother. I mean, there's a demonic presence at work here, and when you're dealing with demons, I mean, obviously they don't going to back off. You just kick them out. Jesus has that power. He can just cast them into the swine or whatever, out of the people into the swine. But it's definitely a presence that is affecting across the world. We absolutely see that, and you better buckle up, as we say, because the road is bumpy. It's like you look back and tell everybody, make sure your seatbelts are on. The road ahead is very bumpy, more than usual. And it's a tinderbox. I mean, think about it. Like I said, here we got Russia, Ukraine. It just amazes me. It's almost like it's not even real. That, I mean, after all this time, Russia was supposed to go in there and clean their clock in 2 months. And I don't like Zelensky at all. I don't care for him. I don't like what happened to Ukraine. I don't. I think it's horrible. But because those people, I don't want to see it happen to anybody. Nobody wants those kinds of things going on. I don't want to see the people of Iran hurt. I don't want to see that. No, but it was supposed to be a mop up. Okay, they're gonna control the country again. Well, they got a good part of it, maybe 25%, if that. I don't even know if it's happened, but that's what they say. But they have been able to move no further, and the Ukrainians now are striking hard. Like I said, they're now because their troop levels are not where they need to be, and haven't been for some time. But they're fighting a defensive battle. The Russians are an offensive battle. The Ukrainians have pushed back in some areas, but they're mainly a defensive battle. That's harder for the attacker to. You're going to lose a lot more men that way, and Russia's lost them by the droves. I mean, some say over 1 million men have been killed or injured. I don't doubt it. Someone told me I was crazy for that. That's like Russia's winning this thing easily. No, they've gained a lot of ground. They've lost a lot of men. The Ukrainians have as well. And the Russians have used everything from mercs to hired guns and prisoners. The Ukrainians recently just have really went this way. They've always offered some money, but they're now filling their ranks with others, and they're going to pay them on a scale they've not paid them before. And if you're in a danger position, the money is real enticing per month. I mean, they've really upped it. I don't know who's paying the bill for this, because we have largely cut off the funds from America. But somebody's paying a lot of money, because they're now offering money to encourage outside sources to come in and fight, to fill their ranks. And I think they feel a little bit of their ether Wheaties, because they feel like they can get on the offense here. I think they see weakness in the ground game of Russia now. That it is, it's teetering in areas. There's gaps in the lines. And I think they've exploited a few of those, as well as they are absolutely, to my way of thinking, they're winning the air war with the drones. I think that's evident right now. Russia forever was sending missile after missile, swarms of drones. Some of them would get through. A lot of them were knocked down, but some of them got through. They've hit some. They've hit some buildings. They've killed and injured. We've got drones now flying over Moscow and striking their targets and hitting day after day. There is a new war room in Russia. They've had to. They're having to. I would love to be a fly on the wall and be able to understand Russian to know what they're talking about. And I will guarantee you, if Putin was not, I mean, he was already worried about electronics and being able to be detected what he was doing. I'd heard 2 years ago or more that he had told his staff to start using pencils and paper. I mean, I wonder if he's not moved to a safer location. If you think about it, that if they can get in here and hit around Moscow like that, who's to say they couldn't get me? And I think this thing has amped up big time. And now I really do believe that Ukraine thinks they can get back Crimea. I think that they're going to hoping they can get squeeze that process down where they can't get in there, and I think in their way of thinking they can get it back. That piece was the first land that was taken. They started this whole thing. It's symbolic to them. They always mention it. Zelensky has mentioned it many times. There'd be no peace without all the land back, including Crimea. The nations of the world, including the president, has pushed Zelensky to accept the deal, which Russia never really agreed to. It's kind of like us, the Iranians. We had an understanding with Zelensky. We were trying to get him to accept the loss and move on and get security guarantees on both sides. Russia never agreed to that. They kept saying we're close. We're close to ending. They never call it a war. We're close to ending the operation. And I think that I just think that it's escalated now to a point. If this continues, if Ukraine is able to continue pushing that deep into Russia, there's no doubt that Russia will respond in a big and heavy way. So I think people better listen to that. This could be the next big thing. And now, we see weakness in Europe anyway. And who's to say that Russia doesn't see that weakness and is ready to exploit it? I just wonder about that. If Starmer steps down, sorry, congested, pollen and everything else. But if Putin sees weakness in Europe, he could exploit that. And it's a new day. I think it's a new day. Lots of stuff are going on. They see the the American influence. They've not liked it, and they've not been able to do anything about it. Russia's kind of been relegated background here to the news. They can't. It's like nobody even cares what the news is now. That's got to beat on Putin's ego. And Zelensky he was trying to dictate what was going on in the Strait and all that. He was talking about how he was assembling all of his partners and he was going to decide who, what, when, where in the Gulf. Well, that didn't happen. The president pretty much told him, because he's trying to assemble a coalition without us, so he can be the big boy on the block. He's nobody, but his military and they're getting help. There's no way they're not getting help, and they are getting intel that is allowing them to strike deep in the heart, not of Texas, praise God, but of Moscow, and they're hitting major energy sources within Moscow. We've seen those videos. I don't know how many it took to get those through, but they've dialed up the right number, and they're winning the long game right now over Russia for the last several days in a row, and that's got to sting the Russian psyche. And for all that, Putin has tried to keep the true horrid totality of death and destruction about this war away from those at the urban areas, especially in Moscow. Can you imagine being citizens of Moscow and seeing this going on? They're going to turn to the streets. They're going to be happy, even in Russia. I mean, millions of people could turn out, and this is a danger for him. And they have shielded him. They block the media. They lie on the media. People know. I'm sure they blocked some social media. They've not even pulled the young men as much from the urban areas as they have from the countryside and the far reaches of Siberia. I mean, that's where they keep pulling them from, because they don't want the people upset. Pay attention to this. I think this is a big news. I think what's going on in the Gulf is just continued operations. It's just a paper that floated around. It means nothing. I mean, it's like, we have a deal, but it means nothing. We have no deal. There is no deal. That's all just smoke and mirrors. That's all so they could, get some things, the energy prices to drop, kind of calm the way the people feel in the region. But they have nothing. There is nothing. I mean, people that really understand it, they look at it. It's all political. We understand that. And but it's clear to me this is going to go through the midterms, and it's going to be a rocky for. I mean, there's can there be an assurance that everything's under control, everything's good, and people ride with that political process through the midterms? I think mostly yes. I think there could be a couple of areas that could, people could be in trouble depending on the state and area. So we will see. I know not. Only the Lord knows. But as we push forward, we'll see that. But I thought that was some really good thoughts by him, and I like the way he reads the room. Some people they go the other. Some people just jump and they go as hard as they can one way versus another. As we think about the news, and they'll get something like that and they run with it. I've always took the long view of it. I always call it the 60,000-foot view. Try to not stay down in the center of it. And the news is now shifted that the Prime Minister Starmer has resigned. He was on a hot seat. This is breaking news. He will stay on until a successor is chosen. This is the news that has been put out. He resigned on Monday, paving the way for Britain to have its seventh Prime Minister in just over a decade. He said he was stepping down as leader of the governing Labour Party, but will remain caretaker Prime Minister until a new Labour leader is chosen. Andy Burnham, who won a special parliamentary election last week, is the frontrunner to replace Starmer as Labour leader and Prime Minister. Starmer won a landslide victory at a general election in 24, but a series of missteps badly damaged his credibility. In a post on X, Burnham thanked Starmer for his service and leadership. He said Starmer's decision to step down, quote, marks the beginning of a transition, and it is important that this process is conducted in an orderly and responsible way. I will put myself forward as part of this process. The country expects stability, seriousness, and continued focus on the issues that matter most, and that is what it will get. Well, you better start selling your immigration problem and your crime problem, bro. That's what I say. And yes, I call him bro. He added, quote, people want to see progress on economic growth, cost of living, public services, housing, and opportunities for the next generation. Notice he never said anything about security, border, nothing. It's another loser stepping up. Political change should never distract from responsibility to improve people's lives. Well, you've not done that, Labour, in Britain. You've not done that. People are being attacked in the streets in the most vile way. Man up. Take care of your people. Kick the animals that you have allowed in your country out. Deal with the problem. Wes Streeting, considered another leading contender, said he will back Burnham, making more likely that Burnham could be selected without a leadership contest. Ed Davey, the Liberal Democratic leader, said Starmer's replacement would have to change, quote, our broken politics, end quote. Quote, the British people are sick of being let down by an endless merry-go-round of prime ministers while nothing really changes for them. Well, amen to that, but we're not hearing anything that will change now. This time must be different. It can't be just about changing who's number 10. It has to be about changing our broken politics so we can fix our country. Zach Polanski, who has the Green Party, echoed calls for a, quote, bold change of direction. Referring to Burnham, Polanski said that the time for half measures and sticking plasters is long gone. If he becomes the next prime minister, Burnham must be bold or he will be bust. The German government has always had a hired Starmer as a reliable and close partner in foreign policy questions, particularly regarding Ukraine. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz spokesman Stefan Cornelius told reporters he declined to comment on the internal motives in Britain. Cornelius said the government believes a meeting with Merz plans to host in Berlin on Wednesday of the so-called E5, Germany, France, Britain, Italy, and Poland, will go as planned, despite Starmer's announcement. The meeting is part of preparations for the upcoming NATO summit. Announcing his resignation outside 10 Downing Street, Starmer reflected on his time in office. Quote, waking up this street, or excuse me, walking up this street 2 years ago is the proudest moment of my life. A new Labour government, the first in 14 years. A page in our country's history turned after years of disappointment and despair. The chance to change the lives of millions of people for the better. That's what I came into politics for. The journey to that point was not easy. I don't see that you did anything to get there. The question my party is asking now is whether I am best placed to lead us into the next general election. I have heard the answer of my parliamentary party to that question, and I accept that answer with good grace. He didn't like what he heard. Get out. Every decision I've taken has been about putting the country I love first. Liar. That's a lie. That is why I'll resign as leader of the Labour Party. I've spoken to His Majesty the King this morning to inform him of my decision. I'll remain in post as Prime Minister until the contest is complete, and I will do everything I can ensure an orderly handover of power. Starmer stood behind a lectern featuring a crest with a lion and a unicorn. One is not native to the UK and the other is mythical, but both have appeared on the royal coat of arms since the 17th century. The lion, although never living in the wild in England, is the country's national animal. The unicorn, though fictional, is Scotland's official animal. The two became part of the crest when the crowns of England and Scotland were united in 1603 under King James I of England, who was already King James VI of Scotland. When he was elected in 24, a landslide victory for Labour, Starmer pledged to steady the ship and in years of political turmoil under conservative governments. Starmer succeeded Rishi Sunak, who served from 22 to 24. And before them, there was a series of ones back through Boris Johnson, Theresa May, and David Cameron. These nominations will begin on July 9th and close when Parliament breaks for its summer recess on July 16th. The contest is open to Labour members of Parliament. So we will see. But that was talked about over the weekend, and it has come to pass. England still is suffering greatly from a lack of leadership. And I don't see it getting any better, to be honest. I really, really don't. It just don't seem like it's just an endless process of bad leaders. I mean, really, really bad leaders. And the situation on the ground in Ireland, Scotland, England, the whole area it's horrible. So we'll see. Moving on quickly before we lose our time. Bibi Netanyahu says we'll keep security zone in Lebanon. Sure, the Iranians won't like that. Iran warns U.S. to be careful after Trump threat. Israel's the defense leader Katz, soldiers free to act in Lebanon. Moving on to the reflecting poll, vandals will face charges. We heard that over the weekend. A former Olympian was elected. He said he only reached in and wanted to touch the paint that was peeling up, but he was arrested. A little article here from Brian Freeman. And former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, remember him? He told NBC's News, Meet the Press on Sunday, quote, I don't see that the president is always getting good advice, end quote. I think Republicans on Capitol Hill have asked that same question. Is the president getting the best advice with regard to these strategic matters? Regarding the memorandum of understanding with Iran, Esper said, I feel like the fact that we've extended the ceasefire. I like the fact that the strait is being opened up. That will provide economic relief to a lot of people. And I like the fact that we're getting into nuclear talks. But when I look at the MOU, there are many of the points I have serious questions about and concerns about. So, I think in many ways it's a wait and see. My principal concern has been that it appears that too many of the incentives, in my view, have been given up front instead of later in the deal when we've seen much more progress on the nuclear aspects of whatever potential agreement comes from this. I would agree with him in this. I was not always an Esper fan, but I would agree with him on that. He also noted that Tehran has learned from this war that it can effectively use closing the strait as a threat. The Iranians have seen that, quote, they can shut down the global economy, they can coerce the Arab Gulf states, even impose, even to threaten the United States with regard to our military action. So in that way, they have discovered that they have a tool that they can use, and they're willing to suffer the pain, and that maybe we're unwilling to suffer more pain than what they are. He added, quote, my other fear, my other concern, probably a reality, is that the Iranians have learned that they can survive the brunt of U.S. and Israeli military attacks. Despite how very successful they've been, the regime has been able to survive and withstand them, and that's going to embolden them going forward. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think that that's some of the best things I've ever heard from him, to be honest, and I would agree with that assessment. Not to go back to Iran, but I liked what he had to say. Um, Moving on to AI, the president says that AI is bigger than the internet. Defends scrutiny of Anthropic. He said that artificial intelligence will have a greater impact than the internet and defended his administration's scrutiny of AI companies, including Anthropic. It's bigger than the internet, he told Axios. He predicted AI would drive major advances in medicine, science, and economic productivity while also presenting a new national security challenge. The president also was asked about Anthropic and suggested administration officials recently had concerns about the company's activities. A week ago, maybe Trump said when asked about the issue, we didn't like what they were doing, excuse me. Trump did not elaborate on the specific concerns, but indicated the administration was closely monitoring developments in the rapidly expanding AI sector. It's not going away, that's for sure. The president also left open the possibility of using federal authorities to influence AI development if necessary. Asked whether we would consider using powers such as Defense Production Act in connection with artificial intelligence, Trump replied, I would. They've used it before, and I see no difference here. They would use it again. The administration has increasingly framed AI as both an economic opportunity and a strategic competition issue involving China and other global rivals. Much more to come on that. And of course, yes, data centers as well. Uh, Dick Morris, you know what? He's been around for the political game for a while. He's a contributor to Newsmax. He tells Newsmax cheap gas will sink Dems in midterms. He says that the sharp drop in gasoline prices following the U.S.-Iran memorandum of understanding will reshape the 26 midterm landscape and help Republicans keep the House and Senate. I felt good on the one. I'm not sure on the other, but he believes they'll keep them both. He said the pump price is the single economic indicator voters track most closely. The national average for regular gasoline fell to $3.99 a gallon Thursday, while down from $4.51 a month earlier after the U.S. and Iran signed the agreement. I had someone in my church that was in Florida. They went on vacation. They were paying $3.80 something, $3.90 something on the way down. On the trip back, within 1 week, those gas prices for him was about $3.38, $3.39, somewhere in there. So he had already seen a big drop in those prices as they were coming back from Florida to Georgia. So he says it's a huge impact. I think the one economic statistic that everybody knows is how much they paid for gas yesterday. And as that has dropped so enormously and will continue to drop so visibly and so quickly, I think it's having a huge impact. He cautioned that the relief depends on enforcement of the MOU, arguing the leverage is military rather than textual. The issue with the Iran deal is will Trump enforce it? And the key element here, he says, according to Dick Morris, I think, is not that the deal itself has provisions that former President Barack Obama didn't have, is that we have total mastery over Iran at this point. They have no Navy, they have no air defenses, they have no Air Force. And Donald Trump can impose our will, and he will do so through this agreement. Pressed on the midterms, Morris predicted Republicans would hold the House. The reapportionment of itself is giving us an advantage of about 10 seats, and this was what the Supreme Court struck down. By the way, Kamala Harris is already talking about packing the court as a way to encourage voters to come out and flip all this, because they're mad about what happened. But he says they will, Dick Morris that is, gain about 10 seats, adding that the broader economy is doing great on all cylinders with the gas prices now eliminated as a drag. The Cook Political Report estimates a net gain of a half a dozen seats for the GOP. And the University of Virginia Center for Politics found 14 more districts where Trump cleared 55% under the new lines. A new NBC poll released June 14th showed Democrats with a 5-point generic ballot lead, 49% to 44%, narrowed from a 6-point edge in March. President Trump's approval rating fell to 42% among registered voters, his second term low. The margin for error is plus or minus 2 percentage points. Morse predicts a huge drop in Democratic favorability in the midst of the abstract polling. They don't they don't vote in the abstract. They vote concretely. I think the Democrats are cooking themselves with their opposition to the Iran deal, with their opposition to the falling gas prices, with the socialism creeping in on their left. The Democratic Party is self-destructing. He predicted the Republicans are going to win the House and the Senate. Democrats need a net gain of 3 seats to flip the House and 4 to take the Senate. It is a huge, and I would say anything, folks, get out and vote. I got a welcome in one of the social medias. I'll say someone to get off of here, but I had mentioned in one of the clips you may have seen, it was from one of our shows over the weekend, that trouble is brewing if the Democrats take back um, those 2 houses and the presidency through use of executive action. I believe they want retribution. So use Trump's words. They want to pay back, and they not only want to take it a lot further. I really believe they want to put some people in camps, use executive action to make it illegal to do many things. You probably make MAGA hats a hate symbol. I mean, I think all that's on the table through executive action. So somebody in California sent me a picture of Barack Obama and his wife, quote unquote, with Barack Obama's middle finger up, giving me the number one finger from California. Well, back at you. I'll just say I'm just going to send love and not hate. It's just a commentary, but it is true. And where did I get their information? Not out of my head. They've said it as much themselves. They want to pack the court. They want to take control. They want to stop MAGA specifically. That's going to be the one that takes the brunt. And unfortunately, there are rhinos who are more than happy to jump in with them and make deals and agreements, especially here in my state of Georgia. There are many who are, they may put an R by their name, but they're not Republican. So anyway, those are kind of some of the headlines that we see. And so tonight we will have our racing hour. Have 2 interviews on tap. One is a kart driver. We've never had a kart driver, and one is a racing radio personality. I'm looking forward to having both of those. We thank them for coming on the network and for Sir Chaser for securing those interviews. We also have an interview with, and I'm trying to get in touch with him over the weekend. He may have been busy, but a J6er. And I'm hoping to get another one out of it as well through a connection he has with someone that lives close by to where the studio is. But we're going to have a guest on who is a J6, or was, or he is, or however you want to say it. And he's got a foundation. He wants to come on and talk about that. And we're looking forward to the conversation. So that'll be here in the near future. Hopefully within the next week. I wanted to have it this week, and it may still happen. If it does, it'll be on Thursday night, and we'll make that happen. If not, we'll schedule a special time for it. But keep praying for us, and bear with us as we grow, as we are adding things to and getting things the way we want them. We're working on a lot of things at the same time. Thank you for the support of all the podcasts that are underneath the Wolf Nation network. Some people say, "What do you mean network?" It's a network of podcasts. We have more than one, and they are each have their own agenda. It's not one podcast. We discovered a long time ago we were not just one podcast. We were many, and so we needed a place to house that. In the Wolf Nation, we love the Wolf, and it became just a natural for us to go to Wolf Nation Network. And so remember, the Wolf knows. Also get your Wolf Nation coffee. Join our Substack. You see the QR code there for that. We have shows that go there that are not seen anywhere else except for a few clips. And one of those is Just How Big a Boy Are You? Boy, we have a lot of fun with that show. I think we have episode 3 or 4 up. And at Substack, go there. You can do a free subscribe and watch one show for on us. And if you decide you want to, everything's posted there. But if you decide you want to see those behind the paywall, it can be as little as $4.17 a month if you pay by the year. And if you don't, it's $5 a month. We throw that away on a cup of coffee every day, as most people do. So it helps us to pour more back in to the podcast. Been a lot of money expended, and we wanted to do it. But to grow, it's going to require even a bigger capital. So that's what it's for. Anyway, take care. God bless. We will see you tonight, Lord willing. And have a wonderful day. Get out. Enjoy the freedoms we have as Americans. Pray for people. There's a lot of people hurting. Take care.